All right, hey guys, this is Dr. Cool, and in this video, we're going to cover the 5 steps to healing digestive issues. So if you're dealing with diarrhea, constipation, bloating, food sensitivities, maybe leaky gut or autoimmune issues, these 5 steps will apply to you, and we're not going to talk about what to do, but also how to do these things in the correct order. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to make my screen a little smaller here. And I will say too, this is going to be the bird's eye view. We're going to do like a 10,000 foot bird's eye view here today. But in future videos, I'm also going to be covering each one of these 5 steps in more detail, because if we would do it all in one video, it would be a couple hours long. So diving in here, the 5-step roadmap to heal digestive issues. And if you're new to my YouTube channel or my Facebook page, wherever you're watching this, once again, I'm Dr. Zachary Cole. Not that long ago, I was the patient. And the things that I learned in that journey, I've now used to form a program called the GI Revive program, where I help people with chronic digestive and autoimmune issues find answers, find root cause answers and protocols to restore their digestion and get their lives back. If you see here on the left, in 2019 into 2020, to make a long story very brief, I began having symptoms of severe digestive issues where I had symptoms of malabsorption, I lost a lot of weight, I had diarrhea and loose stools, extremely low energy, brain fog, skin rashes. Eventually I developed a lupus spectrum autoimmune condition called mixed connective tissue disease, terrible autoimmune joint pain from that. I had a tremor in my right arm, neurological symptoms. So I had lost my health. I had a very stressful year prior to that. I believe that was the catalyst for some of the symptoms I went through. Obviously, there were infections and a lot of inflammation going on, but I had largely lost my health. And at the time of this picture taken in March 2020, this was taken in Atlanta with my beautiful wife here. We were down seeing a doctor there to try and help me with my symptoms. And when this picture was taken, I weighed 128 pounds. Now, on the right, you see the March 2021. My video is probably blocking that. But 1 year later, this is me on the right, 154 pounds. I had gained 40 pounds in 40 days of doing the right protocols once I began putting all these protocols together. So it was about a year of a lot of struggle, trial and error, frustration. I believe God allowed me to go through those steps to be able to, number one, understand what it's like to be the patient. And so these things are not theoretical to me. These are very much practiced in my own life. And the things that I study, I'll never give myself credit, the things that God led me to research and study to get my health back again, I never would have done if I wasn't the patient in those shoes, having to regain my health again. So if we go over this here, actually before I dive into the 5 steps, one more thing. Our modern healthcare system is not designed to set you up for success. Now, that's no knock on our doctors. Our doctors are good people. They want to help you. I believe that the system itself is what's messed up, and it doesn't allow people to get the help and the results that they need. Even if your doctor wanted to work with you on your diet, lifestyle, supplement protocols, addressing root cause issues, there are so many people for so few doctors out there. They are overworked, and they are trained and educated in a system that is really brought about by the pharmaceutical industry. Literally, the medical schools and the protocols that they learn and go through are funded and are put into place by the pharmaceutical industries. So you really have a pill for every ill. There's not a lot of emphasis on getting to the root cause of why a person has these symptoms and what can be done to restore their body back to health. No, it's give them an antibiotic, give them an anti-inflammatory, some type of a medication that will suppress their symptoms. Nobody really ever breaks through in that route or feels a ton of vitality or feels a lot better, but they just stay on these things for life. And I will say, I'm not here to beat up on that system. Thank God we have it. It can save your life in emergencies. But I think where we go wrong is the treatment of chronic health issues that are largely stress, diet, and lifestyle related with nothing but medications. So, that to be said, diving in here, step number 1 to healing your digestion is having good organ function. And I'm not talking about all the organs in your body. I'm specifically talking about your stomach, pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. These are the 4 organs tasked with breaking down your food. And all the other symptoms that are further downstream, like bloating, intestinal issues, inflammation, leaky gut, believe me, all of them have their origins further upstream in dysfunctions with these 4 organs. So let's break this down for a minute. Again, we'll be doing future, more in-depth trainings. This is just to give you the overview here. if we look at these organs, they all have a purpose in releasing something to break down your food. Your stomach makes hydrochloric acid, your pancreas makes your pancreatic enzymes, your liver makes bile, and then your gallbladder concentrates the bile to be able to digest fat and detox your fat-soluble toxins. Not only do these enzymes and bile and acid need to be released to break down our food, but they also serve important purposes in creating the right environment throughout the rest of your digestive system, where we have the proper pH and the proper conditions where the good microbes can grow and the bad guys cannot overgrow. So even like things happening sequentially, like in the right order, your stomach happens first, right? The food drops down from your esophagus into your stomach. Your stomach releases the acid to begin breaking down all your proteins, but also to sterilize your food and not let any infections make their way further down. The stomach acid is needed to turn on the pancreas. So like if you have low pancreas enzymes, you usually have low stomach function because the acid is needed to tell the pancreas and the gallbladder to wake up and release enzymes and bile. So each step along the way is very important to us being able to break down our food and derive nutrients from our foods. So step one, healthy organ function. Before I move on from this, I will say that a lot of people I work with have had their gallbladder removed. They have hypochlorhydria. They have low pancreas function. And they take all these things to like support their leaky guts, so like L-glutamine powders, bone broth powders, different vitamins. And those are good, but until we restore function to these organs, none of those other further downstream supports, supplements, protocols will work their best until we go upstream and fix this category first. So stomach, pancreas, liver, gallbladder, get those things running good, support them. Diet-wise, supplement-wise, we'll have videos about that. And that'll be the first step towards fixing everything else downstream. Step number two, we're going to talk about your microbiome. Now, many people have heard of the microbiome before. You likely know that it has something to do with your gut bacteria. What I want to tell you in this video is that there are 3 types of bacteria that live inside your gut. And these 3 types of bacteria determine largely the health of your entire intestinal system, your microbiome, and your gut health, and your body's health as a whole. So these 3 bacteria, these three types of bacteria, first we have what are called beneficial bacteria. And the beneficial bacteria, just like they sound like, do good things for your body. They help to break down your food and produce a lot of B vitamins and K vitamins and even other nutrients for the other good gut bacteria. They help to regulate your immune system, helping to bring balance and protect you from infections and not developing things like autoimmune issues. They help with your brain and your mood by producing neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, where you feel happy, you have a good attitude, you can think clearly. And these good gut bacteria are very metabolically flexible. What that means is that they can take whatever you're eating, whether it's proteins, carbs, fats, and they can turn that into more good things for your body. If we look at the other 2 types, the next one's called opportunistic bacteria, which are not bad at low levels, but they can become problematic if they overgrow their boundaries. They're called opportunistic because they will do so if given the right environment, the right opportunity. What causes them to overgrow and opens up that doorway for that right opportunity? Really, overuse of certain medications, especially antibiotics, things like birth control. The standard American diet is a big one. All the processed, inflammatory, chemical-laden foods. If we don't have enough of the good bacteria, which act as policemen, regulating the microbiome and not letting the bad things overgrow, all those can open the doorway for the opportunistic microbes to begin exceeding their boundaries. And they produce toxins at higher levels. Now we'll talk about that. We'll come back to that in just a minute. Bacteria number 3, the 3rd type of bacteria in the gut, are called pathogenic. Now think of these things like infections. You probably heard some of the bacteria like C. diff, different strains of pathogenic E. coli, salmonella. Usually a person would know if they have one of these infections. They would feel pretty crummy, pretty poor overall. But here's what I want you to know. The pathogenic bacteria, the infection type, and the opportunistic bacteria, when those guys overgrow their boundaries and they begin proliferating in the gut, in the microbiome, they produce toxins. Now, these toxins, going into step 3 here, these toxins are what affect your gut lining. So step 3, healing and sealing the gut lining from conditions like leaky gut. Step 2 and step 3 really go hand in hand. The toxins that affect the gut lining and drive inflammation and cause leaky gut, which is the root cause for all food sensitivities, most type of inflammatory issues in the gut, bloating, diarrhea, those are not toxins that we acquire from our environment, like heavy metals or artificial fragrances and things like that. Of course, those things are harmful, but the toxins produced by the overgrown bacteria and the pathogenic bacteria are called endotoxins. Endotoxins means produced endogenously, produced from within. It's almost like the Trojan horse within the castle walls. It's like the Trojan horse. The problem is within the bowels themselves, where the bad microbes are producing the toxins that drive the inflammation. Now, what do you know? The opportunistic bacteria and the pathogenic bacteria are not metabolically flexible. That means they can't take just anything you eat and turn it into bad toxins. They really love only a few food sources: sugars, grains, and starches. What's the commonality among all of those? Is carbohydrates. That means when we're working to shift our microbiome and reduce the overgrown unwanted cultures and really begin to grow our good microbes, there's a lot of responsibility on our end diet-wise to feed the good guys and starve off the bad guys. In this whole vicious cycle about overgrown bacteria, which produce toxins, which drive inflammation, which further reduces our digestive capacity, this whole vicious cycle, the way that we stop it is we starve off the bad guys from their preferred fuel source. That's ultimately what allows our body a chance to heal. Understand, like I mentioned a little bit ago, if you have a lot of overgrown bacteria producing toxins that are driving this inflammation here, you can take all the leaky gut powders you want to, all the bone broth powders, L-glutamine. It may help a little bit, but you're really winning the battle but losing the war. So the way that we win the war is we have to reduce those overgrown cultures, and we do that by stopping their preferred fuel source. All right, step number 4, we're going to talk about undiagnosed pathogens. There are many patients I work with that on paper, they're doing all the right things. They eat a great diet, they don't cheat, they're taking supplements, they work with many practitioners, they're doing a lot of the right protocols, but there's something missing. It's like they can't break through. There's this glass ceiling that they're under that no matter what they try, they can't break through it. And in those type of cases, generally I found that there is some type of a hidden, undiagnosed pathogen at play. It could be toxins as well. It could be a person who's just quite toxic. But usually there's some type of undiagnosed bacterial overgrowth, viral load, candida, yeast issue, or the thing that I see most commonly that is massively underdiagnosed. Doctors don't consider it. Patients don't even think about these things, which are parasite issues. And I think parasites are such a big issue today because in the old days, it was common knowledge that humans got parasites. It was expected. It was a normal everyday part of life, and it's the same for all mammals. As such, humans used to deworm themselves once or twice a year, sometimes more often. Grandma would take the entire family through like a spring cleaning, spring tonic type protocol to off-worm the parasites and the worms from the previous year. Now, certain people get higher infections than others for sure, depending on what you've eaten, where you've been, your exposure to these things, your immune defenses, but we all get them to some degree. We understand this for our dogs and cats, right? We take our animals to our vet, they deworm them a couple times a year usually. We do this for our farm animals. Every animal you eat, whether it's sheep, cow, pigs, chickens, they all have to get dewormed. And we understand that those mammals pick up parasites. It's the same thing for our bodies, you guys. As such, the previous few generations, most people have never been through a thorough, adequate parasite cleanse, which really allows these things to be undiagnosed and have a perfect environment to grow within where they cause a lot of issues. And I would say at the top of the pyramid for pathogens, let's call them infections, parasites are at the top. If you want to watch an interesting video on my YouTube channel, watch my parasite video where you'll understand that parasites themselves harbor toxins like heavy metals. Parasites themselves get bacterial infections. Parasites themselves can harbor tick-borne illnesses that then come out and re-affect our body. So when you clear the parasites, you're really clearing the reservoirs for so many other pathogens that they hold that our body can get as well. Even in this other parasite video that I talk about, I show literal medical studies how parasites get cancer, and then the parasite's cancer can be transmuted to the human's body, or parasites themselves cause cancer in humans. This is not hyperbole, this is not theory, this is literally in the medical studies themselves, and unfortunately the practice of medicine is decades behind the research. So although it's in the research, even most doctors have never heard of this before. So parasites, pathogens, clearing these things. If you have these hidden infections, it may be a barrier from keeping you to get through to the next level. One thing I will say on this note too about parasites is I will often run into patients who have already had testing done, and they say, you know what, Dr. Cole, I had my test back and the parasites are clear. I didn't test for any. Well, that's the case for most people. Almost every person who runs a stool test will be negative for parasites. The reason being is that, number one, parasites are very stealth pathogens. They're not going to be very easily eliminated in a stool sample, like a bacteria, which is just for along for the ride with your bowel movement. No, parasites wiggle, move around, they crawl back in the bowels. They're going to stay in your gut, which is their home, and they don't want to leave, unless you're taking something specifically to kill them. Secondly, parasites very often only live in the bowels. There are some gut worms, but many parasites live outside of the bowels in other tissues. I used some of the examples in the parasite video. There was a woman this past year who was having exploratory surgery on her brain, and they got in there, they found it was a parasite in her brain. It was not a tumor. So breast tissue, they love the liver and the gallbladder, the muscles, skin, pancreas. Pretty much every organ can have parasites in them, and some of them are as small as red blood cells. So you're not necessarily going to see them coming out in a bowel movement. Some of them, like I was bit by a tick a few years ago and got very sick, and that put me into this whole journey about researching tick-borne illnesses. And I found that most ticks, the thing that makes you sick is the parasites they spit into you, which are as small as blood cells. So clearing hidden pathogens is a big thing towards the protocols that you're currently using working better and you being able to break through these ceilings and these plateaus. The final thing, guys, the fifth and final thing we'll talk about here is getting the right lab testing done. Now, most hospital, clinical setting tests that your GI doctor or your PCP will run, these are called diagnostic tests. These are things like CT scans, ultrasounds, endoscopies, colonoscopies, maybe a basic stool test. Now, these are designed to diagnose pathogens, to diagnose a condition. Do you have cancer? Do you have an ulcer? Is there any inflammation? Do you have polyps, diverticulitis? They are not going to tell us a whole lot about the function of your GI system. So what I recommend a lot better is something called a functional stool test. And the difference between the two is that a person can have all these symptoms for years, sometimes decades, but it will take a long time to where their body can reach a diagnosable point. So they go back to their doctor, they say, man, I'm feeling so crummy, I have all this cramping, pain, diarrhea. The doctor will run the test and say, hey, Mary or John, everything looks good, but they know that they don't feel well. That's because they have these symptoms, but their body hasn't declined enough to where it can reach a diagnosable point. A functional test is a lot better in that regard because it's going to show us a lot of important data about your microbiome. And if you have enough of the healthy microbes populating your gut that regulate, as we said earlier, the digestion of your food, your mood, immune function, brain function, and so on. It will show potential pathogens. Sometimes it will catch parasites if a person has a particularly high load, but it is good at looking for bacteria, viruses, candida and yeast issues, things like H. pylori. The test we run shows if you have black and white, shows if you have leaky gut in black and white. It'll show if you have any inflammation issues, gluten sensitivity, high white blood cells called eosinophils, which are activated in parasites and allergies to food, to your environment. It'll show markers of how your food's being digested with stomach, pancreas, liver, and gallbladder markers. So we use this report, which gives us pages worth of data to customize the patient's journey, meaning not just doing randomized things or a one-size-fits-all where everybody's going through the exact same protocol, but literally using your lab test to customize your journey combined with your symptoms to put together the protocols that are most pertinent and relevant for your case. So I hope that's helpful in putting together these 5 things. When we do this, it's putting the roadmap together to allow your body to have the right framework and order for healing. And we work with patients across the country where we help them to put these things in order, where they can regain their digestion and get their lives back and follow these protocols that address root causes that help to restore digestion. I know firsthand what it's like to be sick, and I know when you're sick, it's like every single area of your life is affected. You can't be what you want to be with your job, with your family, your social life's affected. You can't eat out. It's like you become a hermit living in your home, on your phone all the time, looking up your symptoms, scrolling, and it becomes this vicious cycle. I had a friend tell me before, or in my journey that year that I was sick, he was a great friend, a mentor of mine, helped me very much. Just like the Bible says, there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. And I'm paraphrasing right now, but a friend there's nothing more timely than a friend in need. And this friend was a great help to me that year. And I would come into him almost each week and tell him my problems. Looking back now, I feel very badly about it. He would say, Zach, you are perseverating. You are persisting in the same negative thoughts every day. You're on your phone researching your symptoms. You have thoughts of hopelessness. You're dejected. These same thought patterns that replay in your head. Maybe if you're like me, you have those same things going on here right now, and you're looking for help. If you would like help putting together a personalized plan, I'd love to work with you personally and show you this system we put together to help other people just like yourself find answers and regain their health again. So I encourage you, visit my website, girevive.com. You'll be able to reach out to me there and schedule a new patient consultation if you would like to, where you and I will get on a Zoom call together. We'll fill out a comprehensive intake form ahead of time, where I will be able to learn all the important details about your case, what your symptoms are, how this is affecting your quality of life. And then you and I will get on that call together to discuss what your case is like right now, how this is affecting you, what your goals are, and how we can help you to reach them. So thanks a lot for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.